one of the charges that's often lodged at Ukraine by its critics is that it is a fundamentally corrupt society. And we know there was a lot of corruption in the past. Volodymyr Zelensky has tried to combat it, but it still remains an issue in Ukraine. I was wondering how your organization, which has raised tens of millions of dollars to support Ukraine, how do you proceed and ensure that the money is used correctly?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very important question. Ukraine has made pretty significant strides in the anti-corruption fight since its independence in 91, but particularly since the Euromaidan revolution in 2014. Ukraine has a totally independent anti-corruption prosecutor's office that is outside of the normal Ministry of Justice apparatus. It has a separate anti-corruption court, and there's a separate investigative body, again, totally independent, to investigate allegations of corruption. So Ukraine has more anti-corruption institutions that function very well and work very closely with external civil society watchdogs. Ukraine has more institutions that do that than the US does. And I'm really proud of what Ukraine has been able to do since 2014 in this space. Having traveled to Ukraine before and after and recently, it's truly remarkable the way that Ukraine has been able to turn that around. So regarding the aid that we're providing to Ukraine as a country, I think it's important for everybody to understand that we are not flying pallets of cash over to Ukraine. We are sending weapon systems. And so when we say, the president has drawn down $500 million worth of equipment.
Just to be clear, your organization does not send any military equipment.
Correct. We send non-lethal aid exclusively.
I just want to make sure our listeners understand
that. As a country, when the U.S., when we as the United States, when we send, when the U.S. is sending aid to Ukraine, military aid to Ukraine, the DoD will say that they have drawn down $500 million worth of, Humvees. That doesn't mean that they gave Ukraine $500 million in cash to buy Humvees. We went to a boneyard somewhere in the Southwest where we have Humvees that have been sitting there in the sun for 5 years because we don't use them, and we've scrapped them. We put them on a plane or on a ship, and we ship them over to Ukraine. That's what that means. And then the DoD decides, we'll send 30 and we'll call it $500 million worth of Humvees. So they're really guesstimating what is the value of these, and they often overestimate what is the value of what they're sending to Ukraine. That's important to know. The financial aid that we send to Ukraine is actually, it goes through international institutions like the World Bank, and all of the books, the Ukrainian Ministry of Finances, their books are completely visible. Their ledgers are all visible to external auditors, particularly from Deloitte. So this Deloitte, I think, is a US-based consulting firm, right? They have access to all of the financial transactions that are done with the money that we've sent to Ukraine. So I have some friends who work at Deloitte. They're pretty good. They're pretty professional. They would notice if there was something fishy going on. More importantly, I think that the Ukrainians realize that if somebody somewhere is doing something funny with what the US has sent, that puts their kids at risk on the front lines because there's going to be repercussions from the US. We know of cases of Ukrainian soldiers who were killed because they went to go retrieve an American-provided weapon that they dropped on the battlefield when they had to move somewhere quickly. They dropped a Stinger missile, or they dropped whatever the U.S. had provided, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, if I can't account for this weapon, then that puts at risk the rest of U.S. aid to Ukraine." And they went to go get it, and they were killed. So Ukrainians are paying a huge cost, not just to defend the values that this country was founded on, but simply to be good stewards of the aid that we've given them.